Hi, this is Holly from the Sweet Simple Things, and welcome to my channel where we make healthy and nourishing recipes the whole family will love. Make sure you hit subscribe to see all my latest recipes. This Irish pork stew is the perfect winter meal. This is like the ultimate comfort food, and we really love this one. It's chock full of veggies and delicious crispy pork, and it's perfect for St. Patrick's Day coming up too. So we're going to start with a 2 to 3 pound pork roast, and you can really use any you want. If you want to use a pork shoulder or if you want to use like a pork loin. What we're going to do is we're going to cube it up, and if there's any big pieces of fat, we'll cut those off. We won't be able to get all the fat because there's quite a bit of fat in a pork roast, but we're just going to cut off what we can and then cube up the rest of the meat. Go ahead and wash up that cutting board when you're done so it's ready for your veggies. To finish prepping the pork, we're going to put about a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour on it, as well as a teaspoon of salt and pepper. And then just put this in some sort of Ziploc bag or container like I have here, and give it a good shake so that all of the pieces get evenly coated. Next, we'll prep the cabbage. Go ahead, slice it in half, and then we are going to cut the core out and remove the outer leaves. After we remove the outer leaves and the core, I just kind of slice it up into little wedges like that, and I'm just cutting these into bite-sized pieces. Set these aside while we chop our potatoes. You're going to use 1 pound of Yukon Gold potatoes, and we are going to cut these into bite-sized pieces and set these aside with the cabbage. Next is our onion, which we'll also cut into bite-sized pieces. Set the onion pieces aside while we coin our carrots and chop our celery. So there is kind of a lot of chopping that goes in this stew, but I promise it's worth it. It's shoved full with so many great seasonal veggies. I mean, a whole head of cabbage, this carrots, celery, onions. There's so many nutrients in all that, as well as the pork. I'm using a pasture-raised heritage breed pork that I got from a local farmer, and I love supporting local farmers, and I try to buy as much meat from them as I can, and there's just so much nutrition in that too. So this is like a really wholesome dinner that we have tested and made several times at this point, and I get so excited to eat the leftovers. So you're really gonna like this. Next, we'll peel and chop our garlic and get that minced up for the stew as well. Go ahead, get all of these veggies set aside, and now we are going to brown our pork. So you're going to heat a tablespoon of oil over medium to medium-high heat in a Dutch oven on your stove, and you can see how we're getting the sides of these meat pieces crispy. So you're going to have to probably work in batches. I need to do 2 batches of my meat, and it's only like 2 to 3 minutes per side. This is not going to take you very long, and it's totally worth doing. It just improves the texture of the meat so much, and it's my favorite part of this whole stew are these crispy sides on the pork. So just work your way through. Like I said, it takes 2 batches. It's like 2 minutes per side. You get that delicious crispy edge. You'll need a little bit of olive oil, and then when you do your second batch, if you need to add a little more olive oil just to keep it from sticking, go ahead and do that. But we'll get this meat browned, and then we'll set it aside. Add the last bit of your olive oil, and now we're going to do the onions, carrots, celery, and garlic. Do not do the potatoes or the cabbage at this time, but just go ahead and cook this for a few minutes just to get them softened and flavored. Season with another teaspoon of salt, and then we're going to do the rest of that all-purpose flour over the veggies as well. This helps to make sure the stew is thick and not watery. So it's very important. You don't want to skip that. Otherwise, the stew is just a little too watery for my tastes. Go ahead and cook that with the flour for like 2 to 3 minutes. Then we're going to grab our chicken broth and slowly pour it and deglaze the pan, kind of scraping the bottom into the broth as we do it and get all that delicious meat flavor. And then we'll add our bottle of Guinness, and this really enriches the broth. All the alcohol is going to cook away, but if you don't want to use Guinness, you could use any stout. You could use a gluten-free stout, or if you want to be non-alcoholic, you can use a non-alcoholic stout. I don't see why that wouldn't matter. And then add your balsamic vinegar, your caraway seeds, and then some bay leaves. Now we're going to add the rest of the ingredients in this order. So potatoes first, cabbage on top, and then we're going to put the pork on top of the cabbage. And the reason I do this is because it keeps the pork out of directly sitting in the liquid. So that helps keep our crispy edges as this stews in the oven. Just keeps them from getting too soggy. It still is a stew though, so they will soften a bit. But I just find that the texture is wonderful when you cook them on top of the cabbage like that. Stick it in the oven at 300 degrees for 2.5 hours. And then we are done. It does, it takes 2.5 hours, but this is huge. It makes so much food. You're gonna have dinner for a few nights, or make this for when you have people coming over. It's thick, it's rich, it's delicious, so many great flavors. If you like a good hearty stew, go ahead and make this one. You're gonna love it.